Are you ready to join me in transforming fear to freedom? That's the objective of the show. Are you ready to explore with me and my guests? Are you ready to get into the deep and play? This is where it's at, and that's what it's all about. No medical advice here. Use discernment and decide for yourself if the information is right for you. All views and opinions expressed on this show belong to the individual and are not necessarily shared with the producer of the show. Want more details? Go to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com. Now let's get real and have some fun. Who are we going to explore with today? Come on with me and let's get into the deep. Welcome to another episode of Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine, and we are going to explore today with Maggie Thom. And Maggie Thom is a woman who has made a very conscious decision to leave her day job, full-time job, to pursue her writing career full-time. And I think that's an amazing journey for anybody to take, man or woman. And she has an amazing new book out called Captured Lies, fictional book. But the people in it seem very real, and it's juicy, and it's delicious, and it's dark and dirty, I'm just going to say. So let's get into this interview with Maggie. Awesome. Thank you. Maggie Thom is an author, and she has written a fictional book called Captured Lies. And the interesting part for me about Maggie Thom is that she left her day job, her position in management, to move into writing full-time. And so, her book is a mystery and it's exciting, but real life is actually pretty intriguing to me. So, welcome to the show, Maggie Thom. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you for inviting me on your show.
You're very welcome. I guess the first question, comes to me. This is your first book. It must be very exciting.
Very exciting. It's one of those sort of surreal, like, oh my God, this is, yeah, I'm very excited about it. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. So you, are at a point in your life where you decided that it was maybe risky but worthwhile stepping away from your full-time job to the adventure of writing full-time. I find that amazing. What was what motivated you to really just, because a lot of people hang on to their day job, so to speak, out of fear of realizing their dreams, all the what ifs. And I find it really, to me, this is very courageous of you to, you had the belief in yourself, and it sounds like you had a supportive family as well. Do you think that was a contributing factor?
I do, Catherine, and very much. I've wanted to be a writer my whole life, and I've written lots of stuff. And it took me a very long time to even share it with people. And it's one of those things that it really was about me getting in touch with me and figuring out who I was, and that it was okay to be a writer. And because I think the reason why I never did it, and I think this is pretty common for people, is we're scared of being judged, right? And so we don't want to put our stuff out there in case, what are people going to think? And I know from a long time that was an issue, right? It was a big, big issue. It just got to the point that it just had been, for lack of better words, calling me for a long time. And like I said, I've been writing and writing and writing. I finally did this story and I shared it with people, thinking, oh, well, they're going to say, whatever. It's okay, but, keep trying kind of thing. But I got really good, positive reviews about it, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's time. So I finally decided that, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. So finally.
So did you write it with an intention in your mind that it was going to be published, or did you write it for yourself initially?
When I wrote it, it was really just because it was just, I get tons of ideas for writing. I'm definitely not a writer who has a problem with coming up with ideas. I get tons of ideas. And this was one of the ones that just wouldn't go away. And it just, kept building on itself, and I was getting really excited about it. So really, it was just at first to write it. It was just because it was there. It was sort of a constant, and so it was just I needed to write it. So really, I guess to begin with, it was for me.
Right.
And then, as it grew and progressed, it got to the point, I need to share this with people.
Right. So you were more pursuing it to fulfill something in you.
Yes, I absolutely believe it was something within me that needed to come out. And it was also that, when you have something within you and it keeps pushing you and keeps grabbing you and keeps, saying, do something with this, at some point you really got to stop and listen to it, because, there's messages within that, right, that ignoring too much for too long, right? And so, absolutely, it was something that needed to come out, and it was also on my path of figuring out who I was. It was part of that, right? It was part of who I am. It always has been, but it's, one of those things that I hid for a long time. And again, I think a lot of people do, because, we think, I'm not quite good enough to be doing that, right? I never ever called myself a writer, even though I've been writing for years. Mm-hmm. And now I've gone from not only writer, but now to author, which, I found out the definition of author is actually as soon as you write it down, and as you inform me too, you're an author, right? So, so that's all part of it too, accepting who we are. And so that was a big part of it as well, was learning to accept that, this is me, this is who I am, and it's okay. And it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to like what I write, and that's okay.
That's a big part of it, isn't it? Realizing that, what other people, it's that old saying, what other people think of me is really none of my business. And that goes for the good and the bad.
Absolutely.
That sense of knowing inside of you did it for yourself, but also you're sharing something with the world, which is pretty nice.
It really was a huge step to do this, and like you said, what other people think of me is none of my business. Unfortunately, that's a hard place to get to, right? We worry so much about what people think, and the irony of that is as soon as you step past that, you find the people who support you, and that's what you get, is people that support you. The ones that you don't, you soon drop out of your life, because you don't need them. You don't need those people telling you what you can't do. And that's when you really start realizing that what other people think is their stuff, not my stuff. I don't need to take it on. I don't need to listen to it.
Yeah.
That I think was probably the biggest lesson for me.
Right. And so why did you decide to write it as, I find this interesting. I notice this a lot today, is people are using pen names. So why Maggie Thom, and why not your, why did you decide to do a pen name? Is it feel like it's a separate entity, separate you, to use?
That's interesting. I really struggled with the whole concept of do I do it under a pen name or not? Now, for me, the reason that I wanted to do it under a pen name is because under my real name, I was doing some other stuff that was very different from this. And so I thought that I needed to keep them separate. And one thing that I have learned is that although people are getting a little better, but readers don't like to find an author that they really like and like they want to find an author they like and just read everything they've got. But if they pick up an author and they find out they've written something that's way different, they get really annoyed really fast. Now, people like J.K. Rowling can get away with that, but for the rest of us who are just starting out, it's difficult to say. It really is. So I picked a pen name just because under my real name, I'm doing very different stuff. So I just felt it was important to keep the two separate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. I find it just interesting the way we are, selecting that and seeing that we kind of need to create. It's almost like you're creating another character.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, in some ways, that's very true. That is since I did it, since I put down my name as Maggie Thom as the author. It really has come to me that, one, it's a very weird thing. And at first I felt like I was almost like a split personality, like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. But another author said to me, really, all it is another business. So that is really that business, and that's what you're calling that business. And so for me, that made a huge difference. When I started looking at it as that is my business, and it really is, and that I write this type of fiction under Maggie Thom, then it made a whole lot more sense to me and was a whole lot easier than thinking of it as another personality or another character, because that was getting very weird for me, to put it mildly.
But also, do you think that by using a pen name, there's a certain amount of freedom in that? Freedom, like saying things, creating your characters, that it's kind of like becoming an actor. There's what you as your persona may never say. When you get into your writing mode and your characters, then they can say things that maybe you wouldn't say. It's kind of liberating in a way.
Yeah, in some ways you're very right there, because and again, it's been all so new to me, but it really is. It's kind of like, okay, as this person of Maggie Thom, or this business of Maggie Thom, who is this person? So you're right. You do stuff a little bit differently. You can react different. You can just show up differently. And I guess that's one thing that has probably surprised me the most is how many people have not just a pen name, but alternate identities. And the internet is just full of people doing that. So I find that really fascinating that a lot of people just embrace it and love it and, jump right into it. So yeah. It's very interesting.
I do too. So Captured Lies is probably, it's fascinating because all of your characters are so deep. You've created these personas that they all have mystery. They all have secrets. They all have these very interesting parts of them that as a reader, you want to get to know this person. And it's a lot like real life. The family secrets. I find that it's interesting it's coming out now because as a lot of people are doing healing work and we're moving into this more feminine consciousness, people are starting to look at their families. They're looking in their closets. They're looking at the secrets that have disempowered them. And Captured Lies is, to me, even though it's fiction, it kind of reflects a lot of our lives, which also, in my mind, are a lot of fiction, a lot of illusion. So it's not that different. Did you feel like now's the time because of that?
I think that absolutely played into it. And by the way, thank you for getting that, because that really was a lot of my intention. Was we all have skeletons in our closet, and the more we keep them there, the more you get into this place of, oh my God, I don't know what I told them, and I don't know what they know, and you keep trying to hide stuff, and we lose so much of who we are, and we lose so much with connecting with others. And so that's a big part of it. It is a fictional novel. There's no, it's not related to anything to my story or people that I know. It's sort of bits and pieces, I guess, from several people that I've met over the years. But it was very much about, we need to start coming out of the closet, stop burying all of this past, this history, all the things that we think, oh my God, what are people going to think if they know that? When really, if we would say, look, this is what happened, and I take full responsibility for my part in it. And instead of beating ourselves up, move on, we'd be so much further ahead. So, it was really trying to convey that in something that would grab people's attention, be kind of a suspense, but also that was like, really, don't keep these secrets because they're very damaging. And I've taken the book to the extreme in some of the ways that it's damaging, right?
Yeah.
But
I think sometimes that's how we learn, is by seeing the extremes. I think it's very helpful. Sometimes people don't get the subtleties. Sometimes it needs to be right out there for us to get that message. And I find that, the way you've kind of woven the story, it really helps you to realize that you're not really different than anyone else. Like, how deep and dark could your secret be that's so different than anyone else on the planet? And we tend to believe that our family situation, our heritage, our whatever is so different, maybe so dark, that we're afraid to reveal it, because if everyone on the planet knew that about us, well, we'd be totally rejected. But the truth is, everybody's got stuff, and it's only really dark and dirty when it's yours.
And when we keep it there in that dark and dirty place, right? When we don't bring it out to the light and share it and let it go, it stays dark and dirty, right? And it just builds on itself. Like it really gets ugly, and I think it destroys an awful lot of lives when people hold on to all that past and like you said, think that nobody else gets it. Like, oh my God, nobody can have history as bad as mine, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and the thing too is that very often it's and that's why I thought it was cool, because you did it with fiction, so we could sort of accept the story, but it makes us realize that there isn't really anything that's so bad that we need to do that, and especially how it hurts our children. Because in families that have, and we most do, have secrets, say I have a secret, I pass on my behavior about the secret to my children. And then, sometimes children don't even know what it is. They're carrying the weight on their shoulders of all of that stuff that they don't know. They just know they're not allowed to talk about a subject, or they're not allowed to talk to a certain person, or, that kind of thing. And I think you did that very well to sort of show that damage that happens with these kinds of secrets. And yes, they're extreme, but,
Yes, a little extreme. Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. And I think you're right. I think that the children are really who pay, right? Because we hide it, and they never really get the full story of what's happening. So they interpret in their own way, and that's also what makes it darker and dirtier, because nobody will talk about it. And oh my God, there's got to be something there, and so everybody embellishes their own little bit. So what may have been something that was not good turns into something that's horrendous, just because people add so much to it, right?
Well, it's speculation,
so
right?
Yeah.
So much speculation. And so, excuse me, your book is available as an ebook right now. Are you planning on taking it to the hardcover?
Not at this point. I think I'm going to keep it as an ebook. Right now it's available on Amazon and Kobo, and other bookstores are coming soon, like Apple and a few others. But at this point I just decided that it was easier to do as an ebook. But we'll see where that goes in the future.
Sure.
At this point, just an ebook.
So is there going to be a sequel to this one, or are you working on something entirely different? Because I know you're working on other books. You're always writing. This is the impression I have.
That's true. Very true. Yes, actually, I have another book on the go. I'm hoping to have it available in the spring of 2013. It's about 2/3 written. Needs a fair bit of editing. Totally separate story. However, again, back with Captured Lies, after I'd finished it and had several people reading it, they're going, well, when's the sequel coming out to it? And I was like, well, I had sort of ideas, but of course, since that's popped in my head, I have tons of ideas. So I think at some point there will be a sequel to it. It might be not for a little while, but I think there will be.
Well, that'll be awesome. So can you, because I think this is an important part of it too, not just the book, but yourself stepping into this a little bit later in life. You've already had your career, your children, and so forth. So how's that changed your life by stepping into this?
How has it changed my life writing the book? You mean, or having it published?
Yes.
I think in a lot of ways, it was a real affirmation for me. The day that it got published, I couldn't stop grinning. It was like, oh my God. And my husband was quite funny because he was in the other room and he says, will you stop grinning? I can hear you from here. And so it was just, it was just a very cool. So it really just reaffirmed for me it was the right thing, and first thing the day it's published, there hadn't been a sale, nothing. Like, it was just that it was done, and it was like, wow, I did it. I put it out there. I did all this hard work. I did, So I think it's changed in a lot of ways because it really just woke me up to a lot of, wow, there's so much you can do, so much more, and the only thing in your way is you. And so if you can just step aside and, go for it, it's so worth it. It is so, so worth it. It has been a ton of work. I still have a lot of work to do. It's not over just because it's been published. It's still about getting out there and stuff. And I know that also really makes people nervous that, oh my God, once I put it out there, then I have to talk to people about it, or I have to do something, or, and it's not an easy part of it, but it is a big part of it and a necessary part of it as well.
Right.
So, like I said, a lot of hard work, but so worth it. I wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, that, you're probably meeting new people that you wouldn't have met otherwise. Which would opens up to new characters for your books.
Yes, I just can never tell people that I'm using them as a character. I can honestly say that my characters are never, what's the word I'm trying to think of? That they're never, about one person. Usually there's bits and pieces of several people that I know, who are, may make it into creations of my characters.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about fiction, because you can take all those pieces. Yeah. But so do you think that for, if other people that are watching you do this, do you have a sense that you're inspiring people, that you're, because that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because I do think it's inspiring what you're doing. And anytime I see women or men who are claiming their passion and stepping into it, that's a real grounded person that's actually living the human experience in an inspired way, and that inspires me. So I wanted to share your story that way, and I'm just wondering if you're getting any feedback from people saying, oh, I would love to do something, and you've kind of set me free. You've given me that little, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. Are you getting that?
Yeah, I'm getting some of that. Yeah, I'm getting some of that, and thank you, by the way. I am getting from people, and they're like, oh, wow, that is just way cool, you know what, and I really wanted to do this, and I think I'm going to start, doing that, and, and I really, I support, and especially women, just because I find women don't step up enough, but men as well, but really support women in stepping up and stepping into their passion, finding their dream, their passion. So anybody who has said that, offered anything that I can that would help them to move, any support that I can that would help them to move into doing whatever their dream is, because it just opens you so much, and it just feels so right. I guess that's the thing that has really been positive. It just feels so right. And you mentioned a few minutes ago too about all the people that you meet in doing this. I think that for me that was something that was also very interesting, because I'm very independent, do things on my own, I'll figure it out, whatever. But in doing this, I really found that there's only so much, and you get very tired of reading and, trying to figure it out and this and that. And so I really reached out a lot to people I have no idea who they are. And majority of them were incredibly helpful. And, like people who have become quite famous, and they were more than willing to give me some tips, or, direct me here, suggest doing this, suggest doing that. So, it was really, really good in so many ways, because not only did I step up and do what I wanted to, but I started asking for help, which, again, a lot of us don't do. We just don't, right? We just, I'll do it myself, figured out I don't want to look stupid, and, we're so worried about that.
But that, I mean, that's a really important point about this as we go forward on the planet. We're talking a lot about the changes on the planet, and I think you really hit on a very important thing. We've been kind of trained, if you want it done right, do it yourself. Or if you really pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do things yourself. But the truth of it is, everyone who's really a success will tell you that their success came on the heels of someone else, or on someone else's hand up, or just a little tip. And so people who really are really successful usually are most often, what I hear is they give credit to all the people in their lives, because everyone played a role, even if it looks like they're a self-made success. Nobody is. Yeah. No man is an island, And that's, I think you've hit on something really important, that especially for women, knowing it's okay to ask for help and noticing how people want to.
Yes, excellent point, Catherine, because it really, people really do want to help. They really are willing to help. They're not going to do it for you, so that's a key thing for people to understand. Don't expect others to do it for you, because that's where I think some people make a mistake, is they go from not asking to do this for me. But people are more than willing to give you some tips, give you some direction, give you some suggestions, and really, as I had put on my Facebook page, it really took a small village for this book to happen. It really did. There's lots of people who were involved on my journey that helped me with, different parts of the book, different parts of the whole process to get it to being published. So, yeah, there's a lot of people to thank, and many of them I don't even know. I just met them on the internet. But again, like you said, yeah, women, I think women are really bad for not asking for help and not realizing it's okay to ask. And really, for me, I know a lot of times it was, oh my God, they're going to think I'm stupid. Exactly. So I think also that's a big factor for a lot of women is, oh, well, I'll look stupid. And it's, really moving beyond that is probably the best gift you can give yourself.
I actually believe that, saying, there are really no stupid questions. If you don't know something, that just means you don't know. You haven't been exposed. I mean, everybody doesn't know everything, but I actually think it's more, well, the word isn't stupid, but it's just so unproductive to not ask. It's the same thing with men with directions. It's a joke, but if you want to know where you're going, if you've got a destination, ask for help. It's so much easier, and when you get there, you're not going to be totally drained. You'll be, enlightened. You'll be invigorated. You'll feel great, like you do. I mean, you're just beaming with, joy. So, and that's how you want to feel when you get to that point. It's not the end of your journey, obviously, but it's a peak, So I
absolutely.
Yeah. So
and I think that too.
If your guest information is all on the guest page on Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com, so that people can know how to get the ebook for sure. Do you have any other events coming up that you want to share with people, Maggie?
At this point, I got some blog tours sort of coming up. They're still sort of in the works, but they can check out my website. That'll all be posted up there. I've done a couple of interviews already, again, getting it up on the website, so that'll all be coming out. So, yeah, so you can check out my website, www.maggiethom.com, for follow-up. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. So
you're out there.
I'd be more than happy to connect with people.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else you want to share with people before we conclude this? I've so enjoyed this chat, Maggie. It's great.
Well, thank you, Catherine. I really enjoyed talking with you. I think, again, sort of what we talked about is that it just honestly was such a release for me. And like you said, Joy, I honestly haven't been this happy in a long time, but it really was. It was just sort of that final piece of stepping into myself. And so I have a really deep sense of joy and peace that, has been a long time coming. And it's just right. And and what we talked about, if there's people that you ask a question to and they answer you in a way that makes you feel stupid, move on and find someone else, because there'll be someone else who'll be more than helpful, more than willing to give it to you in a way that fits with you. Just don't stop asking and really step into your dreams. It's just absolutely worth it.
Fantastic.
So thank you very much.
Fantastic interview, fantastic discussion, and I agree with Maggie Thom. Don't let anyone take your dream from you. It's yours. It's like a treasure given to you, a spark put inside of you. Follow it and ask for help. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maggie. I am absolutely looking forward to seeing what's coming in your sequel and other books written by you. And for those of you watching, please go to Let's Get Real Chattin with Catherine.com and get all of Maggie Thom's information on how to get the book. And until next time, take care.
Thank you.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattinwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.